Carl Brower, and I'm here driving the 2024 Maserati GranCabrio. In this case, I'm actually driving both the Folgore version you see right here and also the Trofeo we're going to drive in just a few minutes. Both of these vehicles start at over $200,000, but they cost almost the exact same price. In the case of the Trofeo, it comes with a V6 twin-turbo engine making 546 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque. It's got an 8-speed automatic and standard all-wheel drive, and it weighs about 4,300 pounds, or about 250 pounds more than the Gran Turismo on which it's based. Maserati decided to go with a soft top instead of a retractable hard top. This one folds in 14 seconds at speeds up to 31 miles per hour. The car can also do 0 to 60 in about 3.5 seconds, a little bit slower than the lighter coupe, but still plenty fast. We're starting out in the Maserati GranCabrio Folgore, and that means we're not getting any engine note, even when we roll into the throttle. That's because this vehicle is 100% electric, and it has a battery pack mounted not just in the lower part of the frame like they always are, but in this centralized location. It's really brilliant when you think about it because it means you're getting mass not just low, but not even toward the edges of the vehicle. That's going to help you in handling. That lever arm effect from all that weight, just like a mid-engine vehicle, is really as centralized as it could possibly be. And it does enhance the driving dynamics of this Maserati GranCabrio Folgore. While the electric drivetrain means no exhaust note, it also means trademark electric instant torque. You know, I got to admit, I'm still an internal combustion guy, but I can see younger generations who don't care nearly as much about that, finding as much fascination and thrill with that kind of torque as people my age find with internal combustion explosions and cool exhaust notes. That centralized mass from the battery, you really feel it when you're driving this car around corners. I mean, it's got 4 driving modes, but even in its most relaxed mode, the vehicle feels incredibly stable. There are 4 driving modes that this car can be set into, from comfort to sport to GT to Corsa, which of course is race in Italian. We just were driving this one right along 17-mile drive here in Pebble Beach, and we can confirm that the centralized mass that they've decided to use for the battery pack is quite effective. Instead of the big flat battery pack that they use in most electric vehicles, this one is centralized longitudinally, really right under that central hump that most vehicles use for drivetrain components. That means not only is it low like every electric car, but it's also away from the edges of the vehicle. That longitudinal location reduces the lever arm effect of the weight, really improving the handling of the vehicle, as we just experienced here on 17-mile drive. I'm personally a fan of retractable hardtops, but I know they do add weight, and a lot of people feel like they take away from the style. This soft top can go up and down at up to 31 miles per hour, and it only takes about 14 seconds, which is really pretty quick. Okay, we have now switched to the Trofeo. That means internal combustion, 546 horsepower, 480 pound-feet of torque, and if you haven't noticed yet, a red interior, a very, very red interior. I really like Maserati's interiors. I think the high quality materials they use and the design and execution of those materials is probably among the best in the premium luxury field. And sitting in this car, I'm also able to tell that they're not just attractive looking seats, but they're also very effective and comfortable seats. Supportive, but not overly claustrophobic or squeezy, as you might think, and also really great bolstering, just what you want if you're going to be driving a car like this. Of course, we were hearing exhaust from the start, but now we've got it in Corsa mode, and that adds a little more exhaust note, in case you can't tell. Corsa, which means race in Italian, not only turns up the exhaust note, but also gives you a little bit more steering feel and a little bit stiffer suspension tuning, all of which can assist you when you're driving in twisty roads along 17-mile drive like we are right now. I find it interesting that Maserati has been able to price the electric and internal combustion version of these vehicles essentially right on top of each other. So you don't have to make a decision on which drivetrain you want based on cost. it's really down to what you prefer. Traditional exhaust notes and Italian passion, or an instant torque and ultra quiet, smooth, refined, zero NVH, which is both a good and a bad thing depending on your perspective, right? Either way, you're certainly getting the top-down experience that you want in a Gran Turismo type vehicle, and really things like the air scarf, and there's even an optional wind blocker you can put in place to minimize wind buffeting. We're going to take a quick look at the control interface within this Maserati GranCabrio Trofeo because, well, it's actually pretty impressive. You've got what you would expect in front of you, a gauge cluster that can record different driving modes, and it'll prioritize the proper gauge cluster based on what mode you're in. That mode is also reflected in this central 12.3-inch display here. As you change it, it goes through and makes sure it tells you what mode you're in. But you can also go to Apple CarPlay easily. You can go to Nav, you can go to Audio, and you can go to apps beyond CarPlay like Alexa and Android Auto. And there are all these car settings that you can do throughout this vehicle. It's a little intimidating at first, but the truth is it's pretty easy to figure out. And given the amount of things you can change in this car, it's pretty cool that Maserati set it up to make it as easy as it is to figure out, because it could be much more daunting. This lower one is supposed to be climate control, but really it's got a whole lot going on down here, like the convertible controls to put the top up and down, ambient lighting controls, even the headlight controls are down here. And if you want to open the glove box, that's down here too. There's a lot going on. A lot of things you can modify. In between the two screens, of course, are your transmission gears. And if you shut this car down, it's got a pretty cool shutdown process. You get your Trofeo up there, and when you open the door, you get your kind of sign-off Maserati. As you can see, we've now swapped the all-electric version for the all-internal combustion version and benefited from the exhaust note and a little bit more of the Italian passion that you probably associate with a brand like Maserati. This one has got this great white color and red interior, very Italian fun, and it's also got these rather appealing 21-inch wheels. And I think it's an interesting circumstance that Maserati has created, where they are making these all-electric and internal combustion versions of the same car, really identical in every way, including price, but you can get traditional or electric powertrains. When you're driving either one of them, you're benefiting from a very stiff chassis, excellent steering feedback, and great performance. But you're of course getting more instant torque out of the all-electric version, while you're getting a nice progressive build in power and emotion with the exhaust note in this one right here. This means as a supercar shopper, you can really decide on nothing but the drivetrain. Price, styling, performance, they're all almost identical. It's just down to what you would enjoy more. It's a smart way to go because we know that the electric car mandates keep pushing those EV vehicles, but we also know a lot of people are pushing back. If a company like Maserati can manage to include both those drivetrains and have that kind of choice, it's probably the smartest move, at least for the next several years, as we kind of figure out how far we're going to go in the EV world and how long it's going to take to get there.